Anna Kasparian, who is a host and executive producer for the Young Turks, has been tweeting some things that don't necessarily go with the Young Turks ideology, that don't necessarily go with the leftist ideology that those people usually follow. And Matt Walsh had some words to say about this because, of course, a lot of the people on the right were saying, yes, we finally have Anna Kasparian on our side. You know, the right is so quick to just accept these people, to just prop these people up every single time they agree with them, even a little bit, which if you really dig into this like Matt Walsh did and like others did, she's not really agreeing with us. She's not really on our side anymore. Like, she's not honestly switching sides or anything like that. She just tweeted something that's somewhat, you know, has some common sense in it. Like, it's not that deep, but people, of course, on the right are just so quick to accept everyone who agrees with them even a little bit. Let's check out some of these tweets. And also, Tim Pool responds to this as well after Matt Walsh goes in on Anna Kasparian. Let's check this out. I'm a woman. This is what Anna Kasparian tweeted originally. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or a person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit. This person, the Humanist Report, never heard of them before, but I'm not sure if they're famous or something, says, I respect you a lot, but this notion that mere existence of trans-inclusive terms, rarely used in casual convos, somehow degrades women comes right out of the right anti-trans war on women playbook. There's a reason why they're praising you for this. Hey, Mike, you're the guy who has no clue what it's like to have your reproductive freedom taken away, but consider what it's like to have the same lawmakers who fail to protect our rights turn around and call us people with uteruses. It's not inclusive if cis women hate it. So she still uses the term cis women, even though she doesn't like people with uteruses. She's okay with the term cis women. Kind of weird, right? Matt Walsh will call that out later on. The Humanist Report responds to that and says, how many people are actually referring to you using this language? Well, if she works for the Young Turks, it's probably quite a bit, honestly. It's probably a lot of people referring to her using that language. It must be a lot for you to air this grievance in the middle of an international hate crusade against trans people. I'm sure Ben Shapiro is retweeting you because he supports her reproductive freedom, though. It's used by many major institutions, universities and agencies, and prominent progressive figures like AOC, and the guilt by association charge is lazy and lame. And there was a lot of people on the left coming at her in her replies, and she replied to a bunch of them. You know, she replied defending herself. I think she'll eventually apologize, but I'll go into that later on in the video. I think that these people, they always end up apologizing after they say something reasonable. Like, you know, if they ever agree with the right a little bit, or if the people on the right start co-signing something that they say, they most likely will apologize 99% of the time. I think Anna Kasparian is going to end up apologizing as well. But let's check out what Matt Walsh had to say about this Anna Kasparian tweet. Matt Walsh, ever the cynic. You know, I'm also the same kind of way now. And Matt Walsh is making me even more that type of way because I think that a lot of people on the right are a bit too reasonable. Like, I know that that sounds like kind of narcissistic, but I think that people on the right are a bit too reasonable and that they're too accepting of people incoming, whereas people on the left are like, no, like, you're on the other side, you are the other, and we're going to take you down. I don't care if you say something that someone agrees with me or not. If you don't completely 100% agree with my ideology, you are the enemy and we will defeat you. And I think that that's why they're winning. That's why they run the media. That's why, you know, nothing that the right supports will be accepted in the media. Like, check out the movies, dude. Check out the movies, the TV shows. They're failing financially, extremely bad. But they don't care because the left runs the media. And whether or not they're losing money, they're going to continue to push that ideology and make sure that none of the right-wing ideology sees the light of day in any of that stuff. Even if they're losing millions and millions, like Disney, they don't care. As long as their ideology is being pushed, that's all that matters. Here's what Matt Walsh had to say about the Anna Kasparian tweet. Anna rightly objects to being referred to as a person with a uterus, yet she still uses the term cis woman, which is simply a shorter way of saying the same thing. These people are totally hopeless. Their minds will never be freed from the leftist plantation. I agree with them. I don't think there's any point in trying to convince them with logic and reason to switch sides. I don't think there's any point in using compassion, even though I do think it can be helpful to have people out there like Michael Knowles and other people like Jeremy Carl here. I don't even know who this is, but, you know, his ideology, his way of thinking, it is definitely more towards the Michael Knowles type of way, whereas, you know, show compassion, allow these people an escape route to, you know, escape this leftist ideology, the leftist plantation, as Matt Walsh puts it. But here, Jeremy Carl says, I hear you. I generally love your approach, and you're probably correct for most of them. But we should welcome any progress that reveals cracks in their coalition. Pray for Anna Kasparian. Don't drive her away. So he's more on the side of show a little bit of compassion whenever these people, you know, say something reasonable. I'm as long as he's not saying we need to fully accept Anna Kasparian and, after she said all the things that she said in the past, and also, obviously she works for the Young Turks. Like they're not the best people. So as long as he's not saying, we need to fully embrace her and stuff like that, if he's just saying, welcome any progress that reveals cracks in the coalition, then, I can somewhat agree. But more so, I'm agreeing with Matt Walsh and his way of thinking, his way of handling these things, because that's what the left has been doing for a long time. You are the other. I don't care if you say something somewhat reasonable. You're still the other, and we need to defeat you. There's no getting around it, because that like I said, that's what the left has been doing, and that's why they run everything. That's why they're indoctrinating children in schools from a young age, because they run everything. They run the school system. They run the media. They run everything, man. And it's because of, mindsets like Matt Walsh has currently. And I think that if more of people on the right, especially content creators, people who are thought leaders on the right, like Matt Walsh and the others who are around him, start adopting that same mentality where we have to defeat them at all costs. It doesn't matter if they somewhat agree with us. You're still the enemy unless you all the way agree with us, unless you all the way are against the indoctrination of children, unless you all the way are against the propaganda and weirdo agendas, sick agendas that are being pushed by the left. Unless you're all the way against it, you are the enemy, and we have to defeat them. That's the only way that the right, that the reasonable thinking people out there, the common sense people, will ever make a comeback. If we take the stance that Matt Walsh is taking. Here is what Tim Pool had to say about the situation. Matt Walsh first quote tweets the Jeremy Carl tweet and says, "There is no progress here. She's quibbling about some of the terminology, but she totally accepts gender ideology and all of its doctrines. Anna frequently accuses conservatives of being transphobes and bigots for making completely reasonable points about gender ideology. She does this all the time. She is not our ally or friend. She hates us, just to be clear." Tim Pool responds to that tweet and says, "You need to give people a path toward the light, otherwise they will walk only the path available. If Anna only gets shit on by the right, then she has no incentive to do the right thing." I disagree. I don't think that even if we give her a path to the light, that she will walk it. I don't think that's a possibility out there. I don't think that's a possibility for 99.9% of leftists and people who support gender ideology and those other weirdo things. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think it's much more effective, because does the left really give anyone on the right a path towards theirs, a path towards the so-called light that is the left, thinking ideology? I don't think so. They don't. They don't put that stuff in the media. They don't put that stuff in schools if they can, help it. They don't do that stuff. So I don't understand why we have to do that. I don't understand why people who actually understand common sense, actually understand facts, logic, reason, why do we have to do it? We don't. We can take the Matt Walsh stance and actually win the war instead of trying to be the good guys all the time. Stop trying to be the good guys. Stop trying to be the super reasonable, compassionate people. It's not going to work. It hasn't worked. We've been losing the culture war for a long time. It's time to take an actual stand. And say that these weirdos who are trying to indoctrinate children, who are trying to push these agendas on, the weak-minded people out there, whether that's because they're just young or because they're stupid, we need to say that they're the enemy, man. Like, the time has come where it's time to just stop playing around, stop being so compassionate and nice and accepting. The time for that is over, man. We need to take a stand like Matt Walsh is doing. Let me know what you guys think about this whole exchange between Anna Kasparian, Matt Walsh, Tim Pool, everyone else who's involved in this situation. Like I said, I'm one on the side of Matt Walsh, and as time goes on, I'm becoming a bigger and bigger Matt Walsh fan. Let me know what you guys think about the entire situation in the comments.